Welcome to Mr. Biz Radio, biz talk for biz owners. If you're ready to stop faking the funk and take your business onward and upward, this show is for you. And now, here's Mr. Biz, Ken Wentworth.
All right, welcome to another episode of Mr. Biz Radio. Me, Mr. Biz, Ken Wentworth, and producer Alan is going to help us out this week. We haven't had a solo show in a while. We've got, accumulation of questions. I appreciate all you guys that send them in. We literally put them into a folder, viewer questions, and then periodically we'll do a solo show and try to get through some of the ones that are, showing up more often than others, the ones that are more prevalent that people are asking about. The questions that we have that we're going to try to get through, we've got, I think, 10 or so of them. I don't know if we'll get through all 10, but they've been ones that have been asked by multiple people since the last time we did a solo show. And so I think it's important to kind of cover those things, and looking forward to having producer Alan help us out.
Well, Ken, I'm looking forward to asking you these questions because I'm not a business person, but I'm a lifelong person. And some of these actually affect me in some respects. And the first one affects me because it's everybody's question right now. In the business world, it's Madison from Boise, Idaho asks, how can I use AI without replacing my team?
Yeah, a lot of people are asking that, and on both sides, right? On both sides of the desk. I think there's a lot of people that are freaking out a little bit, thinking their job's going to get replaced by AI. And to be honest with you, I'm not sugarcoating, it's going to happen, right? There are going to be some jobs. However, there are a lot of different things you can do, even as an employee, to get out in front of that trend. You should have been out in front of it already. If you're not, no better time than now, because you're still going to need someone to be able to feed the information into AI, right? Regardless of what you're using. So number one, start getting familiar, even if you're doing it in your spare time, with some of the capabilities. I learn new things every week. We started getting into it a little bit, gosh, probably a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago now, but just kind of dipped the toe in a little bit. It's like, but man, I use it so much, and I'm going to cover some of those things as we go through some of these questions, I think, because there's so many different things. I forget often what it's capable of doing. And that's what I mean. Every week I learn new things. It's like, holy crap, I didn't even think about that. I could do this and I could do that and I could be able to do things. But getting back to your question. So again, major concern, people are concerned about it. Really the thing I would associate with it as an owner is think of it as kind of the flip to what I just mentioned is the AI, whatever, source you're using, is kind of an assistant to your employee. Right? They're enhancing what your employee is capable of doing, not necessarily a replacement, because think about it. If AI can make an employee, I don't know, make it up 20%, 30%, 50%, depending on the task, better, quicker, more efficient, think about how much more valuable that employee is. Again, as an owner, my employee can be that much more efficient and effective for me and provide that much more value. And as an employee, to make sure you're not the one getting the boot out the door because you haven't gotten out in front of this. All kinds of different things you can, but some of the things you can think of that you should be thinking of is tasks that are seen to be like bottlenecks, the repetitive tasks, scheduling things, invoicing. Gosh, you can make customer service FAQs like for your website. You can go out there and say, you can literally tell it. And again, some of you guys are familiar with it. You're going, yeah, no kidding. But you can go and put in a website and say, hey, analyze this website and come up with 10 FAQs for the website. And it's amazing. It takes, 20 seconds. The first time I did it, I was blown away because I used my website, MrBizSolutions.com. I'm like, holy crap. Like I couldn't have written these any better. And you can have it give answers as well that you can, kind of tweak as you need to, but a lot of different things like that. A ton of different opportunities on the marketing side. Think copywriting. So I have a paid version that I use of ChatGPT, and it's very iterative. That's why you got to start using it. And so I literally named mine. I named it after my dad. My dad's name was Keith. And so I'll literally log on and say, hey, Keith. And he'll say, hey, Mr. Biz, what are we doing today? And I'll say, today you're a top 1% copywriter for social media. And he'll come back with something. Oh man, that sounds great. Are we going to write a Facebook ad? Are we going to do this? We're going to do that, whatever. And then I'll feed it what I want. Depending on what it is, it could be a website, it could be a document. You can attach a document and it'll scan through it super fast. ChatGPT again is just one of those ones that was kind of the original. and that's why I latched onto that one. Zapier's another one. Jasper's another one. I know I see a lot of people using, and there's new ones coming out every single day, but they can save hours and hours a week. I mean, I have a client who's going to a trade show soon. And, you know, as CFO, I'm like, hey, we got to make sure we're getting our money out of this. This is going to cost us a good bit of money to send, you know, 5 or 6 people from the company to fly them out to Vegas. We got to send all the booth stuff up. You know, they're going to be gone for how many days? And then the cost of being a sponsor and having a booth and all that kind of stuff. Let's make sure we're getting some return on investment, some ROI out of this. And so I literally fed in to my AI dude. I said, hey, here's the website of the expo that they're going to. Here's the website of my client. What's the ultimate booth setup? Spits out all these things. Some of them were like, holy crap, I never even thought about that. And they weren't the typical things like, oh, set up a booth and make sure you have your logo displayed. No kidding. It's way better than that. And then I said, okay, considering that same information, what's a good piece of swag? What's something that we should be handing out there instead of handing out pens that people walk it down a little bit further and drop into the, you know, the trash can? And this particular thing is it's a utility expo. And so one of the things they mentioned that we're going to use, which is a great idea, I didn't even know they made them, they're a magnetic tool holder for the top of a toolbox. So as you're working, think about, you know, you're doing house projects, right? And you're unscrewing bolts and nuts, or you're in your car, and you're setting them over here, and one's sitting on top of the fender, and you go to find it, and the dang thing fell down. You can't find the stupid thing. But it'll attach, it's magnetic. So it attaches to your toolbox, it'll attach to, you know, the fender of a car, or whatever it might be. I'm like, holy crap. And it's got their logo on it. That's something that's useful that I've never seen before. Again, I don't go to utility expos all the time, but that's just again, one quick example of, I was blown away by some of the stuff that it spit out. And you can refine it. You can say, okay, well, I don't really like those ideas. Give me 3 other ideas. Or those are too expensive. Do you have something else that's a little bit less expensive that costs under $5 a unit, or whatever you're looking for, and it'll refine it down. It's absolutely insane. It really is.
I think what you're saying, though, a human being had to install or input that information. That was 1. 2, with what you just said about the magnetic thing, you'll never lose another lug nut in the middle of the night.
That's right. That's right. And I mean, the thing about it is, that's the key. And it's just like anything else, garbage in, garbage out. I think I've talked to a couple of friends who said, I tried it. It's a bunch of crap. I didn't get anything out of it. And I'm like, well, what'd you put in? Right? If you just go in with some generic prompt, and again, it's all iterative. So when I go in now and I'll say, hey, you know, we're a top 1% social media copywriter, and it'll spit back and say, and it'll pick up on some project that we did a year ago. Is this going to be another thing for fill in the blank? Is this going to be, because it's all iterative. And it knows my language. And so literally when it'll write like the copywriting, it has analyzed my website. And again, this has happened over, like I said, 1.5 years, 2 years, but so it knows my style of writing. It knows my style of speaking. So he'll say, do you want this written in the Mr. Biz style, Ken Wentworth style, or do you want it more professional, or you want more casual? And if they spit something back to you, you can say, can you formalize a little bit? Can you make it a little bit more formal, or, you know, whatever. It is absolutely insane. Hey, I don't need 3 paragraphs. Can you make that more concise, and can you put that into 3 sentences? I mean, it's insane, the capabilities that it has. There's so many different things. Using your customer avatar, you know, and some of those top queries, you can go on YouTube. You can go out and say, hey, you know, I'm a fill in the blank, and I need this, that, and the other. Well, we only got through one question, but I think it's an important one. It's a long one. So come back after the break. We'll continue going through more review questions on Mr. Biz Radio.
If you would like to reach hundreds of thousands of business owners every week, Mr. Biz Radio can help. Our show airs globally 7 days a week for more than 25 hours across several internet radio stations, plus 20 plus podcast platforms. Also, video exposure on the new exclusive Mr. Biz Network streaming channel, which gets blasted to 100 plus streaming platforms, and the Mr. Biz YouTube channel, and our 350,000 social media followers multiple times every week. Join Mr. Biz Nation as an advertiser by emailing us at info@MrBizSolutions.com.
Attention, Mr. Biz Nation. We have an exclusive offer just for you. Get lifetime access to scarcity countdown timers and logic links for only $69. Yes, you heard it right. Only $69. These tools will add urgency to your email campaigns and website pages, helping you increase conversions, sales, and capture more leads. Don't miss this incredible opportunity. Visit GetPulseTools.com now and take your business to new heights.
Check out all 3 of Mr. Biz's best-selling books at MrBizBooks.com. Now, once again, here's Mr. Biz.
All right, welcome back to the show, and long-winded Larry there. Sorry about that, guys. But again, I think, you know, as you said, Producer Alan, a lot of people are asking about AI. It's such a hot topic. It's been a hot topic, and it seems to get hotter and hotter every single day. So I did want to go through some of those things because, again, especially if you haven't used it at all, and there are free versions out there too. You don't have to use a paid version. I think the paid version I think it's like $20 a month or something. So it's not terribly expensive either. But there's a ton of free ones out there. I wanted the paid version so I could have it be iterative. And so I had my own guy, so to speak, my own resource each time I went in, and that it remembered, you know, prior things that I had done and everything. But so important. And you got to get out in front of it, like I said, as an employee and as a business owner, and look at it as an enhancement, not as a replacement necessarily.
One question I have for you is, how can someone listening or watching this show ask a question right in? So how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, I mean, the easiest way to ask questions is you can send us an email to info@MrBizSolutions.com. Shoot us an email, you know, just put in the subject line, question for Mr. Biz Radio or something like that. And as I mentioned, we put them all into a folder, we accumulate them, and then when it's time to do a solo show, we kind of go back and peel through them and say, okay, these are the ones we're going to pick that, again, I've been asked by multiple people. I'm trying to hit the heavy note or the high notes there.
Jamal from Charlotte, North Carolina wants to know, loves the show, by the way, should I be worried about inflation in 2025?
Yeah. So at the time of the taping of the show here, we're a little over halfway through the year. We've seen inflation come up, come down. And here's another funny thing. This literally just happened to me this morning. It depends, and this is what the craziness of the media nowadays. It depends what source you listen to, because some sources are like, oh my gosh, inflation is great, it's down, and it's compared to last year. And then other sources are like, oh no, inflation is terrible. You can guess the the source of the source, right? Depending on what angle they're trying to project, and if they're pro-Trump, anti-Trump, they're left, they're right, like whatever. It's just crazy. However, to answer your question, you got to stay out in front of that. So while things are much more stable than they were in 22 and 23 with some of the spikes we had there, and even falling into 24, it's always something to stay out in front of. I always look at cost structures on a quarterly basis. As a matter of fact, this year, since Trump's taken office, I'm sure, and if you haven't, you're probably not doing well at all, is with the tariffs. I mean, the pricing, you got to stay out in front of it. It changes. Whoever's your pricing person is probably working a lot of overtime so far this year. I know different clients I have, we've had to change and then pull back, and then, oh my gosh, we bumped this one back up. And we got one that was a surprise, that we have a government resource that we're using to know what the tariffs are and making sure that we're sourcing out of different countries. One of my clients, we got something from a country we didn't realize it was sourced originally from a country that had a higher tariff, and we got dinged with almost $3,000 unexpected tariff that it's too late to pass on the customer. So it was a almost $3,000 mistake. So tariffs obviously have been part of that inflation equation here, but you should always be looking at least, like I said, quarterly, looking at your pricing, reevaluating supplier contracts, again, especially with tariffs and things like that. And where you need to, don't be afraid to increase them. I mean, you can't be nefarious. You can't, oh my gosh, we're facing a 10% tariff and you increase your prices by 20%. Someone's going to figure that out eventually, and they're going to go, this guy's shiesty or this girl's shiesty. I don't want to do business with them. So, transparency is the biggest thing, right? You got to be able to communicate those things while you're raising prices. And, like I said, we've pulled them back. So some of the tariffs that were increased significantly and then have been pulled back, we pulled back pricing on those things. Again, you can't keep the prices the same, and people can see the tea leaves and figure that out, what you're doing there. Especially considering those. But the businesses that stay out in front of this and are agile, keeping an eye on inflation and things like that, those would be the ones that would be successful and make their way through a downturn or a high inflation situation, things like that. I mean, it goes back to my 3 pillars of financial success for a business. You got to have a budget, got to have cash flow. Cash flow is impacted by inflation clearly, and tariffs, things like that. And then pricing or mind your margin. So you got to make sure that that fits right in with inflation as well, because you got to make sure that if inflation is much higher than you expected coming into the year, it's not eroding your margins. And so you're expecting that you're going to have a net margin of, I don't know, make it up 12%, and you're actually at 8 or 7, and you made other decisions, financial decisions in your company, in other areas of your company, expecting you're going to be at that 12 or 14% net margin, and you're only at 8, let's say. It's going to start to whittle down, and you're going to end up running into some problems.
Well, I think you just answered question 5 on your list here. How do I know if I'm pricing my products and services correctly? That was Declan from Dublin, Ireland, but I think you just kind of answered that question.
Yeah. I mean, you got to stay out in front of it, and again, don't be afraid to. One of the things I went through with I mentioned this. This was back in the COVID time frame, when everything was just going crazy, right? And we had the significant shipping costs and all that kind of stuff that was going crazy. We were looking at, we had one particular client that sources a lot of things overseas. And so we were looking at literally the psychology behind, should we increase our prices, 5 or 8%, 2 or 3 times in 3 months and get, price increase fatigue? Or do we do it one time and have a 15% increase? What's going to be received better? Are people going to be like 3 times and, again, make it up 3 months, 4 months, go, oh my gosh, they're raising prices again, but the increases are smaller? Or you whop them with one big one and they go, oh my gosh, 15%, you guys are killing me. So again, depending, your customers, obviously, hopefully, that's one of those things that was a psychological aspect of it, is, that price increase fatigue that wears on people, and it could wear them down. And the net increase that you make, whether it's in one lump or in 3 different installments, it could be the same net impact, could have a significantly different mental impact on a customer. They'll go, man, it's the 3rd time these guys have increased prices. I'm out of here. I'm going to go find another source.
So it's 1,000 paper cuts, or just rip the Band-Aid off all at once. Okay.
Right.
So, we have 2 minutes left. Exactly. Priya from Austin, Texas wants to know, what's the fastest way to improve cash flow?
Fastest way to improve in 2 minutes is what I call shortening the payable receivable cycle. So that is, you buy, let's say you make widgets, you buy raw materials, you pay for those raw materials, and then it takes you a while to make it. Then you got to put it out for sale, and then you sell it. And then if you sell a net 30, it's another, potentially 30 days before you get the cash. When you've paid for the raw material, way back here, you paid for the wages for your employees to make that widget, is trying to shorten that cycle down to where you're not laying out the money 6 weeks, 8 weeks, depending on your sales cycle, how long that is. It could be even longer, is trying to shorten that down as best you can. And some of that is, instant invoicing. So, I got some people that are in the service business, like say, plumbers, electrician, things like that. And I don't think there's many that still do it, but I did run across one that was a couple of years ago, that he would do his invoicing once a week. So Saturday morning, he would get up, throw down a cup of coffee, go into his office at his house, and do all his invoicing for the week that he had done for the last week. It's like, dude, you should invoice that. When you do a job Monday at 10 a.m., that should go out at 10:05 a.m. I mean, it should be like instantaneous. That's one way to get that cycle going and shorten that payable receivable cycle. There's a whole bunch of different ways. Go out to our YouTube channel. I think there's a playlist that's on pricing, and I talk about, there's probably multiple videos about shortening that payable receivable cycle and different ways to do that. Fortunately, we don't have a whole lot of time to go through those, but go out and check it out on the YouTube channel. Just look up Mr. Biz on YouTube. And like I said, I know there's a pricing playlist. It's got, I don't know, probably 15, 20, 30 videos that are all like 4 or 5 minutes long to help you with some of these different things. So, all right, well, we knocked a couple out there. So we'll see what kind of progress we can make in the next segment on Mr. Biz Radio.
How would you like to have direct access to Mr. Biz to help you run your business more profitably and more efficiently? At MrBizSolutions.com, you get live access to not only Mr. Biz, but also several of his hand-picked and trusted business experts, each with 20-plus years of experience to help you optimally manage and grow your business. That's just the start of where Mr. Biz Solutions begins. Learn more at MrBizSolutions.com. That's MrBizSolutions.com.
Attention, Mr. Biz Nation. We have an exclusive offer just for you. Get lifetime access to scarcity countdown timers and logic links for only $69. Yes, you heard it right. Only $69. These tools will add urgency to your email campaigns and website pages, helping you increase conversions, sales, and capture more leads. Don't miss this incredible opportunity. Visit GetPulseTools.com now and take your business to new heights.
Got a question for Mr. Biz you want answered on air? Email it to info@MrBizSolutions.com. Now, once again, here's Mr. Biz.
All right, welcome back to the show again. Answering, I should say, viewer, listener questions. Again, appreciate you guys sending those in. You can email us info@MrBizSolutions.com. Just put something in a subject line like question for Mr. Biz Radio, something like that. We'll go through those periodically and make sure we're covering all those things for you and hopefully helping you out. But again, as I mentioned at the end of the last segment, you can always go out to the website, the website too, but our YouTube channel, there's got to be, I don't know, 300-400 videos, probably more than that now out there. And again, we try to organize them into playlists. So if you have a question about budgeting, you can go to the budgeting playlist and see there's probably 25 videos there. And most of the videos, like I said, are 3 to 5 minutes long, so they're, consume them pretty easy. And then even within budgeting, you can say, hey, I don't know how to budget revenue. I guarantee you there's 2 or 3 videos out there that will be short that you can really, kind of hone in on exactly what you're looking for.
You have fans out there, right? They see you on these videos. Okay, so here's one. Nina from Orlando, Florida. I saw you speak in Miami, and I've become a big fan ever since. Should I be worried about cybersecurity?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. That's a great question, especially now. Well, first of all, thanks for coming and watching me speak, and thanks for the positive feedback. Really appreciate that. That was a cool event. I'm wondering if I talked to you afterwards, but yeah, cybersecurity. So this is one of those things that gets overlooked often by small business owners because they look at it and go, I've never had a problem before. And maybe the alternative that you've been presented with, or the option you've been presented with, you're like, man, it's not worth it. I've never had a problem. And you kind of just stick your head in the sand and go, not going to be a problem. 60%, I literally had the stat. I know I've done a video on this, and that's why I remember the statistic, is 60% of businesses, small businesses, small and medium size, I should say, not necessarily huge, but that have some sort of cybersecurity data breach, 60%, 6 out of 10, fail, go bankrupt, go belly up, because it's such a significant risk. Here's the other piece of it, and why small and medium-sized business owners especially need to pay attention to this. Those are the businesses that are getting attacked. The JP Morgans of the world, the Targets, the make up these Walmarts, whatever, these giant brands. They spend billions of dollars on cybersecurity. I know before I left JP Morgan, and I left there, I don't know, 10 years ago. They were spending in the billions then. I can't imagine what they spend now. And so think about it. If you're a bad guy, bad girl trying to get information, am I going to go try to crack open JP Morgan when I know that they're spending this and they've got, I don't know, probably hundreds of people that are trying to keep me out? Or do I choose something that's a small business that maybe doesn't have any security whatsoever, or it's something that I'm a wizard at this, I can get in pretty easily? And people always think of cybersecurity and they go, well, I don't have credit card numbers. On the dark web, and that was this part of this video that I mentioned, and again, this video has been a few years old, so these numbers may be a little bit different now, but on the dark web, credit card numbers are only go for like $2 to $3 per number, because there's so many different aspects now that the bank shut them down right away. They recognize things like they use AI, and they're like, hey, this might be fraud. They shut it down, or they send you a text and say, hey, we just got this transaction from blah, blah, blah. Is this you? Yes or no? But one thing, and this is a huge one, medical practices. Your medical records are, at the time, I think, if I remember correctly, it's like $100 per record that the people can make on the dark web, as opposed to $2 or $3 for a credit card number in a login or something like that. But your medical information. So if you're a medical practice and you're not staying up on your cybersecurity, you're probably going to end up having a problem, because again, I'm a bad guy. I'm gonna look for the weak antelope at the back of the herd, and the one that's going to get me the most bang for my buck. So the other thing, a way to look at this, again, thinking about that 60% that I mentioned, think about the cost if you cheap out and you're like, hey, I don't want to spend $1,000 a month on cybersecurity, whatever the number is, think of what that might look at like if you had a data breach. And again, if you're one of the 60% that end up, you losing your business, you lose, everything's done, you're done. Pretty significant cost. So can't emphasize enough, if you didn't get through loud and clear, cybersecurity, super important for small and medium-sized business owners.
All right, we're going to shift gears here a little bit.
Okay.
Marcus from San Diego, California, San Diego, wants to know, is TikTok still a good platform for business?
Absolutely. And I was I think kind of a late adopter. Maybe not actually, because I'm thinking about this is back in 2020. So when COVID hit, if any of you guys are familiar with the app Clubhouse, so it was an audio only app. It like just took off during COVID because everyone was kind of shut down and people would go in these Clubhouse rooms in Clubhouse and talk about things left and right. And I was in one back then. So I guess it was 5 years ago, but I asked a guy who's the TikTok expert, consultant type person, and he said, no, business, you got to get out there because a lot of business owners aren't on TikTok, at least 5 years ago, because they think, just like I did, I'm like, TikTok to me, I've got, at the time, our daughter was like 10 years old. And we are younger, we're, 20 and I don't know, 15, 16 years old. I'm like, to me, TikTok is teenagers dancing, choreographed dances to, the latest trendy song or whatever. And he's like, no, people in the business world are getting out there now. You got to get out in front of that. And so if you didn't 5 years ago, again, no better time than now. And it is becoming more and more. It's so funny. You see the evolution of these social media platforms, right? So, Instagram 10 years ago was a lot like that, right? It was primarily, I think, teenagers was the primary demo that used it often. And now it's shifted so much. And so now I feel like Instagram, the average person on Instagram is, the age of it's probably gone up 10 years. And the same thing happened with Facebook. Facebook was started, obviously, when he was in college, and it was college-age students. And now Facebook, for the most part, is known to be the one with, the old people on it, right? And Instagram is shifting that way. TikTok is doing the same thing, but business, it's a way to get out there, put out short content. It can be longer now. They've shifted out a little bit, but because so many business owners are not doing it, it is a way to get your name out there, is a way to get your company's name out there. So yeah, it is a good platform. We really started pushing it a little bit harder about 6 or 8 months ago on our end. And we've seen significant growth in that period of time without doing anything too crazy, like using content that we're already creating. We use content, video clips from the show here. As a matter of fact, we use it and share those on TikTok as well.
All right, we've got 2 minutes left. What KPI should I be tracking, but probably am not? That's Akira from Osaka, Japan, asking that question.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, thanks for the question, first of all. Second, the KPI you should be tracking, man, there's a ton of them. One of the things I'll say, and I won't give you a financial one because if you've listened to the show, you've probably heard a bunch of those from me before. If you use, well, if you have anything that's like e-commerce wise, and I think a lot of people who listen to the show have e-commerce, or you sell things on your website or something like that, is it's LTV to CAC, CAC. So that's long-term value, a lifetime value of a customer compared to the cost of acquisition of a customer. CAC is cost acquisition cost. It's customer acquisition cost. Geez Louise. Anyway, so basically what it tells you is, what's it take me to get a new customer? How much money does it cost me, right? If that's paid ads, it's not paid ads, you're creating content. You don't have, everything's organic, but it's costing you money to create that content. What's the cost of all those things? And then what is the lifetime value of the average customer? So if the average customer comes in and spends $100 with you, but it's cost, you should strive to hit something that's at least 2 to 1, if not 3 to 1. So it's costing you $30. The lifetime value of your customer should be at least 90. Obviously, the higher the better. But if you can hit that, you'll be in good shape. And that's one of those things I think a lot of people don't look at, because they're looking at, oh, I need to look at, all these other fancy, or not fancy, but more common ratios. So that's one I would mention. And again, thanks for the question, especially all the way from Japan. Really appreciate you guys watching the show and listening.
Okay, we're out of time, Ken. Wrap it up, baby.
All right, guys. Thanks for questions. Have a fantastic rest of your week. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And don't forget, as always, cash flow is king.
To become part of Mr. Biz Nation, follow him on all social media platforms or never miss a show by going to MrBizRadio.com. If you prefer free video content, visit the Mr. Biz YouTube channel or check out his streaming channel, which is available on 100 plus streaming platforms at MrBizNetwork.com.